Hey everyone, welcome to the Callback Comedy Podcast. This week's guest, I got comedian writer Neal Brennan, who's the co-creator of the Chappelle Show, among many other things. He also directed The Goods, starring Jeremy Piven and produced by Will Ferrell. We actually spoke across the street from the Comedy Cellar right before him performing. He did it actually in between sets. So special thanks to Neal for taking the time out to talk to me. We talked for about 45 minutes about script writing, stand-up, and stuff he's written and directed. Of course, we touched upon Chappelle Show, and it was a great time. Before we get into the Neal Brennan portion of this episode, me, Godfrey, co-hosted this episode at Stand Up New York for the first half, and we also have special guest Benjy Susswein from Stand Up New York, who's a booker there. And so me, Godfrey, and Benjy all talk, have a conversation. We talk about a lot of different things, and then we'll get right into the Neal Brennan portion of the episode. So please rate and review and subscribe to this podcast on iTunes. And that's really it. So let's get into this first half of the episode.
What is it? We Hate Flannel?
Well, whatever you want to call it. All right, we're on, Godfrey. Third episode.
Yo, welcome to We Hate Flannel.
That's the name?
Joe Vecsey and Godfrey. It's a working name.
We've debated on names.
Tentative title. Okay, his name, he wanted to call the show, what's it?
The name of it, because I'm interviewing, big comics.
Right. But what was the title?
Whole Other World. That was the name of the comic.
Whack.
What were your other considerations?
Not really a lot. I had technical difficulties. I had We Hate Flannel because I said We Hate Flannel because of my.
But just know, if Chris Rock had came up with Whole Other World, he would have loved it.
No, I wouldn't have. No, I wouldn't have, because Chris Rock wouldn't come up with it.
But if he did, that's not the question. It's not the question.
What the fuck is that?
But it's not the question of would he have came up with it.
Louis
It's if he
C.K.
did.
wouldn't have come up with it either.
It's not if. It's not if. It's not if their personality would have came up with it. It's just if they did.
But I know you came up with it.
I know
that's the way your mind works.
I know. All right.
Now,
so
listen,
I'm going to do a social experiment on you.
Okay. I thought that We Hate Flannel would
That's
be
a good one too.
Because We Hate Flannel, to me, I mean, I like the podcast. I like the titles of different podcasts because they're just catchy.
Right.
They don't necessarily have to mean anything. They're just catchy. We Hate Flannel to me is because I always think about those really smarmy fucking comics that wear flannels and fucking those cool little artsy glasses with their stupid notepads and they alternative comedy dudes. That's why I said We Hate Flannel.
Right.
And I like We Hate Flannel. I think this shit is hot.
I didn't say it wasn't. No, I'm perfectly happy
I think
with
this shit is banging, baby.
I'm perfectly happy with that.
I mean, if
name.
you could think of something else,
I can't think of anything better. That's the whole point. My mind does not work to think of something better.
If you have any suggestions for a title for Joe Vecsey and Godfrey,
I was just giving you a hard time.
podcast.
I agree with that.
No, don't agree because
No, but I was agreeing. No, I.
Oh, really? Were you really agreeing?
Well, out of exhaustion as well. But,
wow.
Just wear him down. What about We Hate Flannel?
That's really funny. Out of exhaustion. You got it, dog. Oh, out of exhaustion. That's hilarious.
But but I do like that. I do like that. What's funny is I'll say I agree with something like, yo, don't just agree, and then I'll be like, I'll be real. I like We Hate Flannel.
Why don't we call it ugh?
Ugh.
No.
Ugh.
What about ugh? What about yuck? No. Gabe can come in.
Gabe's in.
Gabe owns this bitch.
Yes, please. I've never met.
Hey, owner, could
Can
you
we do an
back
introduction right here?
Dude, thanks, man. Yeah.
Joe Vecsey here.
Nice
Joe
to meet
Vecsey.
you. How's
Joe
it going?
Vecsey.
Gabe, one of the owners, and our delivery boy also.
Okay, that's a good job.
No, because thanks, man. Gabe is a huge basketball fan. Huge Knick fan. Diehard fan.
Okay.
He played. Tell him what you played in. Joe Vecsey played in the and won basketball tournaments. And won.
Yeah.
I got to bring up your dad. Dad is Peter Vecsey, the famous sports writer, right?
Yes, he does a little sports.
Sports writer. His father was inducted the same day as Michael Jordan in the Hall of Fame.
Wow.
You damn right. I'm telling you. What's wrong?
It's fine.
But
But it's funny. No, the reason why I was cringing when you said it is because everyone will come up to me like, "Hey, Joe, I heard you got to open up for Godfrey. How did your dad get that hooked up?" and I'd be like, what? I was like, if you see Godfrey courtside, then maybe there's something to that. But what do you think my father, 7-year-old father, is doing for Godfrey? Like he's giving him Willis Reed autographs? Like what is he doing for him?
You know what his father's doing? His father's outdoing me in fucking story stories.
Oh, that's what's true. It was the first time Godfrey was at a loss for words with another human being.
I was like,
he topped him. He was topping him.
You just threw a fucking dig at me, you asshole.
You admitted it just now.
I was like, because I would tell a story and his father goes, no. Not only you might have seen him in a book, but I knew the guy.
Yeah, he's telling stories about like how he is a fan of Martin Luther King. He's like, well, guess what? I was with him at that hotel balcony. I was right there with him.
The bullet just
I owned the bullet. I actually almost had it.
I knew Dr. King. Sit down, pal. Here, let me show you my pictures. Here's his number right here.
Because for anybody that doesn't know, Godfrey's a huge baseball history buff.
Love it.
And he was naming all these people. My father was like, well, when we were sharing hot dogs. And me and Don knew
Jackie Robinson, let me tell you, I ate dinner with him like every.
Taught him everything.
used to pump Don.
Like you, Ben, was a pitcher.
I played baseball.
Oh, wow. Yeah, my father, he was a better baseball player than basketball player. He loved baseball.
What position did he play?
Good question. I have no idea.
Wow, that's how long it was.
I have no idea what he played because I never paid attention to that.
Glove.
But he definitely loved baseball.
Just like some padding.
Just knock
it down.
You pitched. How fast did you pitch?
I was probably around 80 miles an hour.
Dude, he threw 80 miles.
That's crazy.
Heat,
For a Jewish school.
That's awesome.
For a Jewish school?
Yeah, Yeshiva University.
So you think the Jewish speed is a little different?
It's worth a little more.
He's like, don't put so much on it. You guys,
You're gonna hurt yourself.
don't go so fast.
We were, though, the worst team by far.
Really?
My first year on the team, we went 0-28.
What school? What high school did you play at?
I didn't actually play high school baseball.
That was your best season. 128. It's crazy.
That's Gabe. The voice you hear is Gabe. We are doing this podcast at Stand Up New York right now.
Woo.
And it's right before this is right before they're going to have an amateur night. They have amateur night every day.
5 days a week.
Friday, 5 o'clock.
That's awesome.
You know how many clubs don't have that? 5 days a week amateur night. How great is that?
That's
That
crazy.
is like a blessing.
No, that's awesome.
Are you guys being very selective of your amateur people? Are you picking out of a hat? How are you doing this?
We have a sign-up sheet. It goes on our door every day.
Okay.
You sign up.
And whenever it fills up, that's it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
And then we just go through the list. If you're not here, you get skipped.
That's awesome. I like that. That's
It's
guerrilla
$5
style.
for 5 minutes.
$5. I like
Hey,
that.
Godfrey,
You're still making money.
Godfrey, if
That
you
would
come,
make-
I recommend coming around 2:30 to sign up.
Beat it. Damn it.
Nice meeting you, man.
Nice meeting you.
See, that's Gabe, who's one of the nicest owners in New York City, and their club is A-list. You must come to Stand Up New York.
But Godfrey,
It's the
that is
best
true.
club.
There's been 25 comics literally that have asked one of my friends. They would never come to me, but my friend came up to me and was like, yeah. He was like, so Joe's dad is obviously facilitating these spots. It's great. Well, I said to them, I said, I don't know what you could think. I don't know. It's such in the basketball world, it would make sense maybe.
Right.
Like if I was writing all of a sudden writing for the Times about basketball. Well, yeah, okay, we had a recommendation, but I was like, what do they think he's doing for Godfrey and
Joe.
Ashy Larry? He did a show with Ashley. Yeah, he hooked up Ashley Larry with some fucking cream. Some Patrick Ewing cream.
Like the NBA is connected to stand-up.
Exactly.
You know we have a stand-up division at the NBA.
I said, let me be honest with you. I said maybe there could somehow, if someone was a huge basketball fan, it could give me an opportunity of something, but it certainly can't get you more than that. It can get you maybe a conversation.
I feel like there are always, no matter what, people are going to say, talk shit about why you got the spots that you did. That just comes with the territory, though.
Like, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
As long as
Right.
you prove
Yeah.
yourself,
Exactly.
then you're proving yourself. On stage, you're proving yourself, you're not an asshole. A lot of the younger comics and shit are assholes. Like, literally, like, entitled fucking, like, assholes. Like, yo, I fucking, I wrote, and I just did El Rey on Comedy Central. It's like, anybody can get anywhere nowadays. It's so much easier now.
Yeah.
You can get a bunch of hits because you were fucking a cat, and it was the best skit everywhere. You got 5 million hits, and now everybody's inviting you to their comedy club.
Right.
But then you don't have the time, and you can't back your shit up on stage
Yeah.
because I invite everybody to come do a check spot at Stand Up New York and humble your fucking ass, huh?
It's true.
Yes.
Challenge is out.
How about the check spot? Why don't we call it the check spot?
That's actually.
What-
Well, I mean,
we
it doesn't-
hate flannel or the check spot.
the check spot, because you know what, you're someone who could rock a check spot probably without blinking. So maybe that's
I mean,
like a
I
good.
have to blink. Listen, I used to do check spots. Let me tell you something. When I first got here, like 97, I used to do check spots at the comic strip. Yeah. I was the check spot king, dude. And it was hard. I'm not going to lie. It was hard, but you had to come hard with it.
Yeah.
And I guess because I would do the urban circuit too, it got me to, the check spots became kind of easy. Because the urban circuit, it's all about, it's black people going, man, hurry up. Make us laugh, motherfucker. You boo. Ah! That kind of shit.
You have to equal their energy.
Right. So check spots were like the urban part of a mainstream show.
Right.
And that was just them paying attention to the check, but I was able to get through it because it's all about plowing through it. Like, me and Ben were talking about how, he on some of his check spot, he'll just start doing dick shit. I said, you got to do whatever it takes to get out of there. This is like...
Are you doing stand-up?
Yeah.
You told me you were... when I saw you last time, you were telling me you said you were doing films, but maybe...
doing a lot of writing, getting into stand-up right now also.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I think with check spot, you got to plow through it. It's like they throw you into the lion's den. You just got to fight your way up. Whatever you got to use to get their attention.
Right.
Because they're not paying attention.
Right.
So you just got to go boom, and then if you're just not funny, you're just not funny neither. Because I'm sure... Some of you have done check spots and you killed it like, wow, I did pretty damn good. And most of the times you do pretty good. And you see some comics that always do check spot and they bomb every time. So it's got to be them. Right. Because there's some check spots there where people are actually paying attention. There's not that many people and they're like, you just suck.
If there's also, sometimes the host will eat like 5 minutes up front. Do you a favor. So by the time you get on, they're already winding down. They're back into the show.
Well, Artie hosted when I did some check spots here, and I feel like a good host is important. His energy is so great that he gave me a nice intro. And
you just eat the bullet. Just go, I'll eat a little bit for you. And just fuck up your introduction and put you right back in that fucking den.
No, because I was thinking of I was thinking of Artie since he's a good host, a great host actually, but I was thinking of bad hosts. I did a show somewhere out in Brooklyn, ghetto show, and the host introduction was, we have a couple new guys coming on, jingle your keys if they start to suck. Here they are. I was like, you know what, I'm not sure if that was a great intro.
I would have started jingling right there.
Basically, the first guy that went on, thank God I wasn't the first guy, he was about 20 seconds in, they jingle his keys. He didn't get a joke. I don't know if the guy was funny or not, no one knew.
That's what I hate. You don't give urban audiences a fucking power.
A reason. It's a setup for failure.
Yo, if this dude you don't like him, start tapping your feet.
That's exactly no.
Really? I didn't even say anything yet.
We had a guy who wanted to produce a show here where the angle of the show was the audience always gets to participate and scream out whenever they want. I was like, that is an awful idea.
Yeah.
They're just going to be screaming the whole time.
First of all,
and no one wants to hear the guy next to them.
You don't have to tell a New Yorker that they have that right. They'll do it.
Right, exactly.
Don't give them any more opportunities to interrupt.
No, sorry, exactly. I don't have any silverware.
You want some?
Yeah, can I get it?
Maddie,
pause it for a second.
Can you get him a fork? What do you want?
Yep, we're already back on.
What the hell were we talking about?
I don't know. We're talking about hosting and bad introductions.
Being an MC. Oh, go ahead.
I got a question.
Yeah.
More general question. Is there a theme to the podcast?
Well, not really. I wouldn't say a theme. Me and him are now co-hosting it, but each podcast I've had an interview with comics really about the art of comedy and real questions. Like I had Aziz on the first time, and I wasn't asking him questions like, what was it like working with Jesse Eisenberg? It was like real questions about developing material, how you do this, how you do that. So
it's aimed about how you create your comedy, the comedy world.
But then we always are going to have like conversations about whatever the way we did it before the interview takes place. So I don't know who will be on this episode that I'm on right now. I don't know who the next one. We have Gary Shandling coming up at some point.
I am dying to meet him.
So we'll have that coming up at some point. I don't know when that's going to happen.
Is he coming to New York?
I don't think he's going to be coming to New York. I'm going to be doing whatever he wants to do. So however it is, I'm going to be interviewing him in depth, and I just don't know how it'll go down.
I'm like shaking to meet him.
I'm a big fan of the Larry Sanders Show. That's one of my favorite shows of all time.
Good show.
Love it.
2 classic shows. You had that, and it's Gary Shandling's show.
Yep. I haven't seen that one yet.
He's pretty... Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, it's just amazing that he was the star creator and head writer of 2 groundbreaking shows, and that's pretty ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's Gary Shandling's show. It's awesome.
That's what's up. Gary Shandling. Those are real comedians.
So what else we were talking? We were talking about hosts. We were talking about yesterday. We were going to talk about this on the podcast. Was how you said audience people email the club, which I never knew really that took place that much. That they would email and complain about comics and complain about this.
Yeah, we do get that. We definitely do get that. I'll tell you what it's mostly about. A certain joke, like I'm one that sticks out in my head. Someone I forgot who the comedian was, but they had a joke about someone committing suicide by jumping onto train tracks, and there was someone in the audience whose like brother did that.
Okay.
And they came after and they emailed us. You can't allow your comedians to sit. And I know the Mac. I'm like, listen. We don't censor the comedians. When you sign up to come to a comedy show, they can say whatever they want.
Yes, that's right.
And that's what you're getting into. That's
right.
If there's something you don't want to hear, don't go to a comedy show where people can say anything.
Yeah, and you know what? How is a comedian supposed to know that your brother, my joke, if I go, oh yeah, man, I tossed a midget into the bushes.
Right.
And then you go, man, my friend's a midget, and he got tossed in the bush. How the fuck am I supposed to know that? I mean, so that means...
Also, yours is an imaginary created midget.
And the thing is that means... And what if I did it for real? And I thought it was funny, but it's like...
Man, what if you did it to him? What if it was his friend?
Story.
And you were talking, then it would be crossing.
It makes it even funnier, right?
You were right there.
But it's like, but you can't do that because we don't know. We're just in there for a moment. We just want to be funny and get out. You can't just every little thing. That means if they had the power to censor us, then there would be no comedy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Everybody, my brother's retarded. Oh, my sister's fat. Man, fuck.
Right.
It's
You can't
life,
talk about anything.
man.
Yeah.
Everybody's a brother or a sister of somebody's, or a friend.
Right.
Damn it! Come on, man.
Right. Exactly.
I'm just talking about human beings. I'm not talking about the relationship to anybody.
I was listening to Anthony Jeselnik talk about this because a lot of his material is so dark and so. And he says he's like, no one complains if there's a movie about terrorists. Oh well, my cousin died in a terrorist. Like no, because that's fiction. That's just they're trying to entertain.
Right.
Don't bring your shit into the comedy club. Roll with it, have a good time if you're offended.
Don't get that respect. They don't get that
It is
respect.
weird. They take it more literal for some reason. Because in a movie theater, no one walks out. I mean, well, usually, or maybe they do walk out, but they don't they don't announce to everyone that.
Walk out, no one cares because it's dark and some people are
Right.
still watching it.
Right, I'm still here.
And that's how it should be with comedy.
But they probably don't email the filmmakers, do they?
Yeah, right. Dear
Mr. Todd Phillips, I had a hangover once and it wasn't funny.
But the thing about comedy is that it's so accessible. People don't take it as there's no separation of fantasy. It's just like, oh, it's just a bunch of motherfuckers talking. And the fact that they're right here, they can go, man, I don't like what you're talking about. It's so like accessible. I think comedy should, if we had comedy maybe in a bubble, sort of like this
build like a steel cage around it,
and they have to listen to us outside of it. They can't reach us. Then maybe, but or interactive comedy where they watch us on a screen and there's nothing they can do about it. They can't. I don't know because comedy
that would take away from it. That would take away from everyone else's experience.
Well, no, I know. There could be any such thing. But I'm saying
I don't know about this idea.
I think you took it literal, you jackass. I don't think it's gonna work, Godfrey. We need more. We need the one-on-one.
We're working on the stage here.
Our club will be shut down.
I
don't know. I'll be out on my ass.
No, but that idea that you can interact. You're not watching it on TV.
No, you're not.
This is live comedy.
Yeah.
It's just by that very fact it's different.
But the audience should almost act like they're watching TV and not say anything.
But
they should have the respect, right?
Something about comedy just breeds this courage to fucking speak your mind. Everybody wants to be angry. Everybody has to protest some shit.
But you know what's interesting is that also then people, or I feel like friends around me, people also get when they get to know you, ballsy about what you should say on stage and what not say on stage. Like, for instance, I was telling him the other day, my ex-girlfriend, she'd be like, hey, that joke you do, it's not that, I don't think it's that funny. I think you should go this way. I'm like, who the fuck, what do you know? Like, you know what I mean? Like, if I start to give good blowjobs on stage, then I'll let you know and ask you for some tips. But what the hell are you telling me about a good joke? You know? Like, when did you become comfortable enough to say that to me? I don't tell you how to serve tables. You know, that's what you do. I respect it. But I'm not going to tell you how to read the menu. And, maybe you should say the lobster before.
Some comedy clubs have waitresses where they let the waitstaff go, well, what'd you think about these comedians? And I go, why don't they ask the comic, what'd you think about these waitresses? I go like this, hey, the way you grab that the plate, you might want to take the fingers and do
Grab
that.
a little bit.
And then you can actually see the patrons better. I mean, that's just the same way.
It's the same thing.
How are you going to tell us when we go do this in and out? We do this day in, day out. We do this all the time. Right. We do this like every night.
But people get very comfortable. I don't know why. It's very weird. I've noticed that a lot of people around me, and also, like, I can't even tell people anything anymore. I can't even tell my own father anything without it being a joke. Like, I'll say to him, like, oh, so I was walking to the deli today and I bought a piece of gum and the guy gave me the wrong change, so I gave him the right change. And he'd be like, no, Joseph, you got to twist that. You got to make it like, it's got to be, no, I'm like, Dad, no, it's just a story about what happened today. No, but you got to make it. I'm like, no,
well,
it's not a joke.
Because every time you say something, you go, wow, I just saw something really strange. You're going to put that in your bit? Right. I'm going to put me strangling you for saying that in my bit. Fucking asshole. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or your girlfriend told me that people always say to you, oh, when they say a line or something like that, oh, you can use that. Feel free to use that. One. Feel free.
Or they go, don't take that one. Right.
Which means
I'll try not to.
Yeah. And when they say feel free to use it, you know it's an implied.
Funny? Shut up.
But when they say feel free to use it, that also implies now you owe them a favor as well. They did something for you.
Sometime in the future.
But I always make sure I say something very, very awkward to them. Hey, you can feel free to use it. No, I don't want to. It's not funny to me.
Nah, that's not.
And I just sit there with a dead expression. No, I won't use it.
I just stare at them.
So they're just like, well, all right.
Jesus. This is awkward.
Why don't you keep it? So that you can get the same reaction that you got when you sold it to me.
Right.
Not funny, see?
I'm writing for a sketch comedy group now. We perform at the club, so I wrote this one bit that was.
Is the sketch comedy group really good, or is it just some corny ass?
It's all these guys. All these guys
up there.
No, some comedians have stayed in watch. They really like it.
Okay, so
you guys all took the classes at UCB, or actors.
Like let's say I saw the sketch.
I think you'd like it.
And then let's say I was going up after that. Would I go, boy, what the fuck was that?
No.
No.
Do you know who was in it? Greer.
Wow, Greer was in it.
I wrote a part for him. I'm like, hey, I had you in mind when I wrote this character. You want to be it? He's like,
so when is it? When do you guys do the sketch?
We do a monthly show. I don't know how, but we get like 70 people in
What's
here
the
for
group
every
called?
show. Uptown Girl.
Uptown Girl.
And so the sketches are like kind of like SNL sketches, or
yeah.
like what kind?
I mean, obviously that we don't have a high, budget.
Right.
So it's a little we wing it. It's on this stage, so there's not a lot of room.
You got maybe like a mustache or two. I'm playing the
Depends
mustache.
Like how far in advance I can grow my stash.
Scenery change is taking on a chair, leaving a chair.
Turn out the lights.
What I was going to say, I wrote this one bit. So everyone's performing on stage. Whoever's listening, they can't see this, but I wrote this for two people to sit right at the drink rail, actors that are watching the show with the audience. And after every sketch, they sit there and they're having the worst time. And all they keep doing is, do you know what they should have done in that sketch? And they comment, and the worst ideas. Right. They should do this. And the audience loved it. Oh, really? And I think they liked it because I think that's what everyone kind of thinks in their head.
Right.
They're like, I could do this. That was funny. And everyone thinks immediately they can do it. And you go, yeah, try to sit down and write or go on stage.
It's so easy to be an armchair quarterback about comedy. It's so easy to make something really funny in your chair. Because everyone's like, yeah, that was a good one. Right. I'm like, now, that same thing you're doing, go on stage and do that criticism. Everyone's like, ooh.
Right.
There's the other guy. Donnie. So, see, here's the other owner, Donnie. This is the second podcast I've been on with this guy.
Joe, how you doing?
Donnie.
Nice to meet you. How's it going?
What's up, man?
What's going on?
How you been?
There's a lot of good guests today on the podcast.
Yeah, it's coming.
For you.
Thanks.
All for you.
Dude, this is looking awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, every seat, because they're doing reconstruction in stand-up New York, because they had the stage a little bit off the wall. Now it's going back, and it's looking streamlined. And I saw what you did with the bar.
Yeah.
Holy shit. I mean, this place is
it's awesome.
on point.
Gained 30 seats.
Wow.
They seat 30 fucking seats? And you
That's
being
awesome.
the money man. No, that's shit. Come on, man.
They can't pick up my facial expressions on the podcast.
No, they can't.
It's the new one. Yeah, they can.
It's a new Siri, right? Siri could.
She describes it to the people. He's standing there awkwardly.
She could mind read.
Yes. You good?
I'm good.
Awesome.
Gonna head out to dinner.
All right.
6-year wedding anniversary.
6
Oh,
years.
man.
Oh,
6 years.
I
Mazel
had,
tov.
another baby.
You had another one.
Another girl.
Wow. 2 girls.
Never ends.
Never ends. Damn it.
2 girls.
What's her name?
Sydney.
Nice. Because the owner said, hey man, people have been emailing stuff about me, but they email about everybody.
Right.
You know, and it's like most of the time, I know most of the criticism it's usually good. It's like, oh, they were great, blah, blah, blah. And then you get a couple, it's inevitable to not be disliked. I mean,
right.
And so I read some of the emails. Some of the emails were when somebody was heckling me and I wasn't taking no shit from them and I was fucking burying them. I mean, it was one of those things. But other than that, someone goes, oh, he's just not funny. Okay. I mean, what? You can't make somebody, you know, and then the next day someone can see you and go, man, you were mad funny today. So it's so subjective and stupid that somebody emailing someone's not funny is corny as shit to me. It's like, who gives a shit?
I'm just amazed though that people take the time to email.
See, that's what I'm surprised.
I'm amazed at that. They actually go home. They're like, "Excuse me, honey. Let me just type in this computer."
Before I do any family business,
before
we take grandma to the hospital, I have to email this comedy club to let this guy know I didn't like him and I didn't appreciate him at all.
It's the most unbelievable thing, and it's shocking.
Yeah. I'm amazed, and you know what's so funny? The way they email like they're such experts. It's just smarmy bullshit. Like, I don't appreciate. He could have like changed the subject and went on to something else.
Right.
No, I can't. I had to talk about retards. I like it, and my mind was on it, and I wrote a lot of shit about it.
Yeah, I know. It's not a personal attack on you.
Right.
I don't know why they think
it's just human nature to get attention. Protesting is our thing.
Right.
Bitching about shit is our thing. Bitching about comedy is so fucking counterproductive to me. I just think it is.
We just had a guy who emailed us. We had a pretty slow night. There were around 15 people here. And all the comedians commented on it. Like, oh, I can fit you guys in my car, or this is what I come out for.
What's wrong with that?
Which is, I like totally do that. Of course.
Nothing wrong
And the
with
guy sends us an email that all the comedians were having an awful time on stage. We shouldn't have even had a show that night. I'm like,
oh my!
Come
on. Joking about the situation.
Right. No, I know. I've had people when you've done small shows with me that I've put on. People and each comic, you know, you got up there and were like, "Oh, this sucks," and then the person was like, "Yeah, right." And then but again, obviously you see there's a theme here. My ex, not over this. She'd say to me,
"It's the name of this podcast."
I think that's the theme of this podcast. As much as I can out her as possible, I will do. But she was like, "Oh man, it was so horrible because Godfrey wasn't having a good time. This comedian wasn't having a good time. This person." I was like, "No, they're just saying that they're addressing the situation. Everyone's okay. It's not
your
bad."
Ex was there when I did that?
Yeah, the charity show. Yeah.
Oh, the charity show.
Remember the charity show?
Oh,
yeah.
That was a charity.
We did
show.
I put on some charity show for cats, rescue cats. I'm a big animal person.
Cats don't even know we had a show for them. That's what sucks. I just go, you know we had a show for you? Running off on me. I was on stage. Oh yeah, and I said this stinks.
Yeah, this stinks, but it was funny. I mean, I was laughing, but it was funny how he's like, oh no, that means that makes us feel so bad. Like you don't want to be here.
Yourself.
I'm like,
yo, you because you don't get comedy.
Yeah, because you don't understand the fucking world.
Yeah,
like,
I think they should question audiences, man.
Yes.
Go in line, and go, hey. Do people understand sarcasm? Who does? Who does?
No, you're right.
You gotta go. You gotta go.
This guy in the email said he got tickets in Times Square from one of our sellers. He said he was gonna go back to Times Square and stand next to the seller to make sure it doesn't sell to anyone else. I'm like, dude, chill out.
Wow.
Like, how pissed are you at the show that you would go take money out of this kid's pocket?
Right, exactly.
I said that to him. I was like, really? You're going to go take money out of his pocket because you didn't like what the comedian
Exactly.
said?
It's
That's
insane.
amazing how they fucking act.
But that's the same type of person that's going to email the comedy club. He's just like, no.
But I just want to have a hidden camera on one of those people that go home and like, excuse me, honey, we can't have sex right now.
Right.
Let me just.
Right before I stick it in. Hold on. Speaking of sticking it in.
I can't do this.
I'm going to teach this fucking club a thing or two. Huh? And it's not going to take it.
Feels like a real man.
No, it's like this. Send. Let's get down, baby.
I'm wiped out. Yeah.
And I think you're right, Benji. This theme of this one should be called My Ex.
The X.
The X.
The X. Yeah.
That's the name of this one.
I don't know. I just think people should, it's subjective,
common.
and it sucks. Yeah, and it sucks too when when comedians look at the criticism. You should stay away from it.
Right.
Don't look at it because it's just dumb. And then makes you, like you said, your father when he was getting criticized.
Oh right, when people send him 100 emails and then he responds back to it.
Yeah, he responds. He should.
No point. There's no point
because people are going to continuously criticize.
There's no point.
Well, that's it.
So this was our third episode.
Third episode.
Thank you for having me.
We had Benji. Thank you, Benji from Stand Up New York.
Who runs the The amateur night, 5 days a week.
Can I just clarify? Also work here full time.
No, he works here full time. But no, you just told me. And he runs 5 days a week, amateur night. So if you guys think you're so motherfucking funny, especially you emailing son of a bitches that are crying about shit, come with your subjects that you think are going to be amazing to the world.
What.
And come at 5 o'clock.
And if you say you heard this on the podcast, you don't have to pay.
Right. 78.
Does that include my ex?
She's got to pay double.
Can she come? Okay.
78th and Broadway, Stand Up New York. It's under construction. It's awesome club. 5 o'clock.
Awesome club.
Nights. Right.
Thank you, Joe Vecsey, Godfrey, Benjy.
Boom. We hate flannels. That's the way we rock.
And I'm agreeing. Peace.
All right, so Neal, thank you for doing the podcast.
Of course.
Neal Brennan, co-creator of the Chappelle Show.
No big deal.
We're just talking about Blake Griffin. Now he's a mutual friend. Well, I'm an acquaintance through 6 degrees of separation.
I wouldn't even put it that way.
I wouldn't even. What am
You
I?
don't know the first thing about my little Blake.
All right, so I want to start off. I always ask everyone, successful comic I've interviewed, is what was your first big break into the industry? What first got you into the industry?
My brother is a comedian named Kevin Brennan, and he has been doing stand-up since I was in high school. So I used to come up here to New York from Philly a lot, probably once a month. And when I was in high school, my brother worked the door at the Improv with Attell. So I've known Attell since I was in high school.
Right.
I've known Sarah since I was in high school. Sarah Silverman since I was in high school. I've known Romano since I was in high school. Then I came up here for NYU and met Chappelle, Jon Stewart. I mean, these were just guys that were around.
So you basically just networked your way, kind of.
I guess network is what you call it. But it was just like I worked the door at a defunct club, the Boston Comedy Club, while I was in college, and then dropped out because I just liked comedy better.
Right.
I was at NYU Film School.
Okay.
And like the only other young guys were like me, Dave, the guy Jay Moore, and these guys Red Johnny and the Round Guy, who were like a comedy team in the early 90s. They were like a white hip hop group. Johnny does a lot of voiceovers. He's the voice of the robot on Futurama.
Okay.
But they were fucking strong. They were strong, but they were also really fun to watch bomb. Because they were music. One would beatbox, the other one would rap.
Right.
And looking back, it was kind of really corny.
Right.
But at that point, it was like, this is crazy. White people rapping?
Right. It was original.
Never seen such a thing.
So who got you, like, what was your first job?
My first job was, well, the first thing, I would just give people tags. I go like, hey, why don't you say that? Why don't you say this? Like Chappelle. I go like, hey, why don't you this joke you do about such and such, you could say this. And generally people don't like that. I don't mind it, because I wish more people would do it for me. People always pitch the same joke to me for my act, and it's not an improvement. It's like, I know what you're going to pitch, and I know what joke. Everyone tries to beat it, and no one's beat it.
You mean the same person, or
I've had 10, 15 different people pitch me the same area, the same premise, same punchline. They all try to beat my punchline. No one can, but they always go, I think I can beat it. I'm like, dude,
right.
You can all try.
Right.
Everyone's welcome to try, but no one has beat it, and the bit works.
Right.
So I used to do it for, like, Chappelle. I think I gave Attell a tag one time. That was pretty thrilling. And then a guy named Elon Gold, comedian, was doing a show called Kamikaze where they had to write sketches, so I wrote the sketches with him. Okay. And I was 19. Whore. I was making $235 a week working the door at the comedy club, but I liked being around comedy.
Right. Did your brother help? Like, what did he?
He didn't hurt. I mean, he didn't hurt. I mean, he had introduced me to this guy Jason Steinberg, who was like the manager of the Boston Comedy Club. So I started working. Then when I came up from school, I was cool with Jason, and so he was like, "Yeah, you should work the door."
So that was
and then just and then the MTV thing, and then I ended up moving to LA and wrote for the pilot for a little game show called Singled Out
I saw that. It was with
Jenny-
Carmen Electra.
Jenny McCarthy.
Okay.
Jamie Kennedy. No, it was Jenny McCarthy. Yeah, that was like my first job. Then I think I was 19 or 20.
So, but now, all right, when you did Half Baked, that was one of the first.
Yeah, that was the first that was like legit money and legit credit and legit everything else had been like cable shows, like all that on Nickelodeon, Keenan and Kel, shit like that. So that was like the first it was a fucking big deal. It was a studio movie.
Can you talk about how you and Dave wrote the script together? What was the process like?
We hadn't really written anything together other than just an occasional joke here or there, like, hey, try this, try that. But I always wanted to work with him because I felt like we had good chemistry, and he was doing well. I'd written a script with a buddy of mine in LA that wasn't especially good, but there was it had a spirit to it. Got a meeting with this producer named Bob Simons, who had produced all of Sandler's movies. He produced Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore. Got a meeting with Bob and was just funny in the meeting. Was just fucking funny, just crowd worky, ballsy, funny.
Right.
A little roasty.
Right.
And I was 22 probably. And I think people in LA tend to take note of someone who's brash.
Right.
So, in New York, I think it's annoying. In LA, it's he's got chutzpah. You know what I mean?
Right.
So then a couple weeks later, Dave had a meeting with Bob Simons and was Bob's like, do you have any ideas? And he's like, yeah, I'm doing this. I want to write a weed movie. And Bob was like, what is it? And he's like, I'm writing with my friend. You've never heard of him. They're like, who is it? And they're like, Dave's like, trust me, you've never heard of the guy. Right. And they're like, tell us who. And he goes, Neal Brennan. And he's like, oh, we love Neal. He was just here. So now the punchline of that is, Chappelle then immediately calls me and goes, hey, if anyone from Universal calls, tell them we're writing a weed movie. We never talked about it. I had no idea what he was talking about. We'd never talked about writing a weed movie together. I'd probably seen him the night before. We didn't talk about it. And so then they called me and they were like, when can you guys come in and pitch this weed movie? And I was like, in a month.
Right.
We'll be in it. So then we had a month to come up with it. We took the full month. We were smart about it. Waited till the last day. And then outlined in a night what basically became the movie.
Do you think that was obviously ended up being a good thing, but it or no?
I'm not that big a fan of the movie, nor is Dave, so far as I know. It wasn't really.
But it's a cult classic.
Yeah, it's still a cult classic. But you see Chappelle Show, you go, oh, that's a classic. That's a regular classic.
Right.
I think me and Dave were both in mind that we'd rather make regular classics than cult classics.
Right.
So
what do you make with that being that it's not something you're necessarily a fan of, but people really do love and
honestly, I just kind of ignore it. Okay. The poster is downstairs in the cellar.
Yeah.
So I'm on stage looking at it.
Right.
And it doesn't mean anything to me.
Okay.
I can't really explain it. Jerry Seinfeld said something interesting in an interview about Seinfeld. When he goes, he's never watched the show because when he watches it, he doesn't see the show. He just sees him. It's like a home video of him struggling.
Right.
That's what he said. So when I see the poster, I think about Bob Simon's office.
Right.
When he presented the poster to me and being like, ugh. but being 23 and not being able to say anything. Just being like, I don't like that poster. I don't like that font. I don't like. But that was the thing. Me and Dave we had a lot of opinions. We just didn't know that we were allowed to. Well, it's not that you're not allowed to. I think Sandler and Tim Herlihy, who writes a lot of Adams movies, had done SNL. So at SNL, when you write a sketch, you're the producer of the sketch. So you pick every costume, you pick every set decoration, you pick all the blocking, you put the sketch up yourself, and the director just shoots it. Movies are not like that. Movies are, I would say doing a movie is like the scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark where he's trying to outrun that big ass ball.
Right.
You have to just put your hand on the ball from the minute go.
Right.
In movies, and I didn't know that. Now I know that.
Right.
And then once we did Chappelle Show, we knew that, and we micromanaged it and really were picked. I remember walking into Half Baked onto the set of The Apartment, and me and Dave were both standing next to each other, and he goes, "Is this how you thought it was going to look?" And I go, "Nope. How about you?" And he goes, "Nope." So, like, there's a spirit to it. There's about 10 minutes of Half Baked that I like, and it's the $8 date, I think, is a good bit, and then the thing where Dave goes to Sir Smoke-A-Lot, and the shit with when Dave's talking to himself, because that's basically what Chappelle Show became. Meaning, when Dave was playing Sir Smoke-A-Lot, it's a split screen. He's playing both characters, so when he's playing Dave, I'm playing Sir Smoke-A-Lot. And when he's playing Sir Smoke-A-Lot, I have to play Dave and be him in the other side of the frame.
Okay.
So we could just... The whole thing was up to us.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
The whole thing. So it wasn't up to... Like, we could just stop or say this, say that. Like, it became very much what Chappelle Show became. And then, as we were doing it, I was like, I think I have a way to... And then, once we were done shooting, then I had to kind of argue with the editor. And he had edited, like, fucking Rocky.
Right.
That's where, like, I'm definitely a know-it-all. So
About what did you guys...
Just about, like, that joke, where's that joke, put that joke in, you gotta go bang, then bang to him for this, like, just literally, like, here,
So
why?
comedic timing,
Yeah,
stuff
like,
like that, okay.
and it's not like he doesn't have comedic timing, the guy who edited it, it's different than me and Dave.
Right.
So, and having written it, we had a feeling of what it should be. So that's why, like, every frame of Chappelle Show, we edited. Like...
But when you guys sat down and wrote the actual script of Half Baked, being that you and him had never wrote together, how did you guys do it? You guys took turns?
Oh, we just,
Like,
literally sit in a room, take turns on the computer. Like, here, turn the computer to him, he looks at it, tops it, says that's cool,
So
adds
you take
to
a
it,
break writing
erases it.
scenes?
Well, it's not taking a break, it's literally just like...
I mean, alternating, I meant.
Yeah, you just alternate.
Okay,
You just go, here, you're right. I don't know how most people do it, but that's how... People are always surprised to hear, like... The thing with me and Dave is people always assume... we made an agreement while we were doing Half Baked to not say who wrote what, because people always want to know. When people ask that, it's a shitty question. They want to know, who can I discount? Which one of you is retarded?
Right, who's the more brilliant?
Yeah, so a lot of times they'll give me too much credit because Dave's black and a comedian and he smokes weed and he's unreliable and he's stupid or what, I don't know what they think. That I'm just dictating what he says, and then other people think, like Jeff Ross referred to me as Dave Chappelle's typist.
I heard you say that.
Yeah.
And now is he? But I was going to ask you about that. Like, do you think he was? I was joking, or do you think he really?
No, not really.
Just actually really.
No, I think he thinks that. I don't think he thinks that anymore, but I think he thinks that. I think he thought that then. That's
How would that stigma get started? Why would
Because I was a fucking doorman.
Right. Okay.
You know what I mean? It's like I was a doorman. Imagine if the doorman anywhere was like.
But what would be the point of bringing you on? Why would you be there if you weren't contributing?
Well, because then you get into like, black dudes just like a posse. And it's like, well, I was going to NYU film school. It's not like I was fucking living in a I wasn't, he didn't find me in like the underpass.
Right.
I was going to film school. Like, I had a sensibility. I cared about movies and shit. So, but again, no one's going to give you that kind of credite.
Right, of course.
Human
Well,
beings.
I was just curious about the process because I write scripts, so I wanted to see what you know.
Right here. And then, I've said this probably before. It's like, we were like, I think Dave compared us to thrill killers at one point. Like, where if he stabs the guy, I'm like, let's chop his fucking head off. Like, when there's safety in numbers, it's like you egg each other on. Like,
right.
I know what joke you're going for. You know what joke you want to be doing here that you're too pussy to do? Dude, let's do this.
Right.
So that's the benefit of writing with somebody.
Okay.
Is sensing what they're going for and then pushing them on the way.
So after Chappelle Show, Did that kind of change though even more, like your offers to get to write scripts and do things?
Yeah, I mean, once it's like being a good. If you're like, I got nominated for directing for Rick James, so an Emmy. So it's like being a good college basketball player. It's like they're like, we want you to come and play for. We want you to direct Blades of Glory.
Right.
We want you to direct You, Me, and Dupree. We want you to direct.
Are those actual offers you're naming, or movies?
Oh yeah. No, any movie that's come out in the last 6 years, I've had the script for.
Now, how come I'm curious?
Let me put this in perspective. There was a week when Todd Phillips wasn't going to direct The Hangover, and they were like, and I know Todd, and he was still producing. I'm like, dude, I read this shit. This shit's gonna crush, so I was never really up for it, but I was like circling it in case Todd didn't want to do it. So there's so many. And then I end up doing the Piven movie, which doesn't do well, but most of them don't do well. If I showed you all the scripts that I get offered, they're all, it's like just any comedy that worked or didn't work, but most of them don't work. You know, the ones that work are like the ones that Farrell and McKay write for Farrell, or that Todd sort of refurbishes and directs, or Jay Roach's movies are hit and miss, Sacha Baron Cohen's movies are hit and miss, Mike Myers, I was on the list for The Love Guru. Met with Mike. Thank God I didn't get it, because I love Mike, but I didn't like the script. So you just kind of like the best from The Hangover to You, Me, and Dupree. Shit you don't. You go. Oh wait. Oh yeah.
Now you know what I have to say. Though, I'm a big Owen Wilson fan, so I like You, Me, and Dupree.
Okay, fine.
So you turned that down because what? You just didn't think it was strong enough script.
It's not even like you don't even turn it down. They just send you the script and they go, "Would you meet on this?" You just go, "Nah."
You weren't.
I'm good.
Yeah.
So it's not like no. It's there's a list. You just get on a list. I'm on the list of approved comedy directors.
So you've turned down a lot of obviously movies then.
Yeah, but I don't. It's not even turned down. The only one I turned down, not even outright, was Blades of Glory. Like I was one of the finalists, and I was like, I don't want to do this.
I see. Okay.
That one I actually met on, but I didn't even know what to do in the meetings to get a movie, and no one told me, so I was just like in there bullshitting.
Right.
And then I realized later that you have to like have visual kind of aids, and you have to visually have aids. Now you have to like have picked like ideas and schematics and like this movie, and that you kind of have to like smoke and mirrors them a little bit.
Okay, now I understand. So like a movie like The Goods. So you're saying
Didn't
work as I mean I know.
I don't think it didn't work. I think it worked for. I read the script and it was like I love Will and Adam. They're my favorite. All Judd's movies have done well. I guess I could have met on one of them. The good one. Not the good one. That's the only one that I'm like, fuck, I should have read it. I just never read Superbad.
Really?
Never read it. I had it, and I never read it. But again, I have fucking 40 things to. I don't know.
Right, of course.
I don't like the title.
Right, of course, right. That's
like I don't know. You know, I'm writing my own thing. I got like, you know,
right.
Like I don't know.
Because at some point you're looking for a reason to weed out scripts.
Yeah, I didn't know Judd. I knew Adam and Will. So
okay.
So I was like, I pitched something to Adam that he didn't buy, but I was funny in the meeting, and then he was like, yeah, Neil will be good for this. And I knew I'd met Jeremy before. I liked the idea of like working with somebody who wasn't like a big star established. So
right.
And I knew going in, I'm like, this is either gonna work or it's not. Like It's either people are gonna want to go see Jeremy in movies or not. But ultimately, like, there's about 45 funny jokes in The Gifts. So it's like I can't really. I'm not gonna apologize for it. It's like. Fucking funny.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. No, I was asking if you thought, like the way you thought of Half Baked.
Oh yeah, it didn't do well. I think The Goods is better than Half Baked. Yeah.
Well, I was just saying your opinion.
I think The Goods is way better than Half Baked. But you know.
And I saw your cameo in like Get Him to the Greek.
Oh yeah,
it was a nice kid. But like, now I'm just curious. That was just a question of like, how does that?
I'll tell you exactly how that happened. The originals, the script that I wrote, that got me the meeting with Bob Simons, who produced Half Baked.
Right.
Wrote it with a guy named Ross. Ross had grown up with a guy named Rodney Rothman. Me and Rodney, I used to hang out with Rodney. Sometimes he was a writer for Letterman when he was really young. He was like 22, 23. I think he was the youngest head writer ever. Rodney was at the Improv one night, just bumped into him. Then the next day, someone called and said, "Are you in SAG?" And I was like, "I don't know." They're like, "They want you to be in this movie, Get Him to the Greek." My buddy Nick Stoller was the director. Rodney was the producer. So I showed up, worked for 45 minutes, and left. That's the thing about movies. Like, fucking, I worked on The Goods for like a year and a half. People were like, "Nah." But the fucking Get Him to the Greek, whenever I hear, I'm like, "Oh, I'm in that." I can't explain to you how. It's just like a day. It's an afternoon. I just went out and I'm friends with TJ and I'm friends with Jonah. And just like, hey, we'll do a scene. Fucking.
Yeah. No, it was cool.
It's like I know it's one of the things. It's just like, it's stupid. Is how it happens.
Right.
Sorry, it's like it's stupid. No, like it's just like curious. It's a stupid. No, I don't mean you're stupid. I mean like the process is so haphazard. It's crazy. A lot of times you'll cast just on like on Chappelle Show. We just go like get fucking so and so, the guy from the thing that I know. I see him from the Cellar. We use so many people from the Cellar because it's like they'll do it.
Right, of course, right.
Like I don't want to have. I can spend 4 hours and look at casting tapes, or I guess fucking Keith Robbins can do it.
Right.
You know, like or whoever or Donnell or whoever we would use.
Right.
Bill Burr.
Well, now I was going to ask you, but you also get scripts, right, to punch up and rewrite, I assume, as well?
A little bit, yeah. Not very much, though. Because I'm like, if you do something that doesn't do well, like The Goods, you're like, fuck you. They overreact in both directions. They overreact like, you're the fucking best. And then if you do Chappelle Show, you're the fucking best. And then if you do The Goods, you're the fucking worst. Right. And it's like, fellas, there's got to be some middle ground here.
Right.
Because you're overreacting to both.
Right.
And I knew they were overreacting during the Chappelle Show, and I knew they were overreacting in a negative way to The Goods, because they had already overreacted in a negative way. They overreacted in a positive way to the script for Half-Baked, and then they overreacted in a negative way to the movie.
That's really interesting.
So I knew the process. I knew, like, all right, well, I was able to sell other scripts after Half-Baked. Just as a writer. That was what I did between Half-Baked and Chappelle Show. Just wrote scripts and sold them. And it was really fun. I wrote with this guy, Mike Schur, who created Parks and Rec, and we're buddies, and that was a good time.
So what can you describe, now, I heard you guys say that you kept it for like the show, Chappelle Show, to be very personal. It was basically you and Chappelle writing it.
Yeah. We took a couple outside ideas from Brian Tucker, who now writes for Saturday Night Live. He pitched the racial draft and the player hates ball, which we would then take and sort of just fill out.
So it was just you and Chappelle writing the actual scripts of the sketches constantly?
Yeah. And then the Nigger Family, Nick Kroll pitched. I think Birbiglia and Nick Kroll pitched, and this guy Roger Hales. But that's pretty much it.
So let me ask you, I know you were doing like a lot of work. You're directing, starring in it, writing, editing.
Yeah.
And most, I know, shows have usually like 6 writers at least. Like the physically writing
really
scripts.
Hard, yeah.
So I was eventually, wouldn't that lead to burning out, like, or getting just like to that
yeah,
point?
But I mean, I just talked to somebody about this. It's like the reason the show ended had very little to do with the level of the amount of work we had to do. It had close to nothing to do with it.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, like it didn't really affect it either way.
So you think you could have gone like literally like 5-6 seasons just with you and him?
We could have gone.
It's almost unheard of, right? I mean, to have.
I mean, Larry David did it.
Right, you're right. For the first like 5 seasons, then he brought in like David Mandel.
And then he left. But before he brought in Mandel, Berg, Schaefer, all those guys, Andy Robin, like.
Right, he did the first one.
He did it, and he would take other people's pitches. It wasn't not doable because we were like almost halfway done with the 3rd season when Dave left. So it was like, and they were funny sketches. So I'm not of the mind that like we were out of steam because those sketches are funny. Okay. You know.
No, I'm just curious. Just because so many people have so many writers.
Yeah, and I may seem defensive, but it's like, we just got like
that's cool. It's
had like a good. We had a good thing.
Oh, that's awesome.
As I thought we would. Like I knew just from right there. It's like we have a thing like. It's interesting. I had an agent when we had done the pilot after Chappelle Show, that just saw me and Dave sitting together, and I'm no longer with the agent. She was like, "There's something about you two, just there's something about your energy together that's really good."
Right.
That I think I was aware of early. I mean, here's the thing: when I was going to film school, Dave was like, was just crushing as a comic. So it wasn't like, it was no great sacrifice of me to like be friends with the guy. Like,
right.
We just happen to have very similar sensibilities and good enough temperaments for one another. We didn't have perfect temperaments for each other.
Right.
But like, I'm definitely more blunt than Dave is, and I'm more like, fuck it, we have to be. Like, I'm more like stern, for lack of a better word. Like,
right.
If someone didn't show up with, I remember they didn't show up with the Little John wig, and I was like, what the fuck? How the fuck are we gonna do this Little John? We don't have the fucking wig. And the wig guy was like, they stole my wigs on Monday. I'm like, it's Friday, I don't give a fuck. And Joe was kind of looking at me like, hey, take it easy. But it's like, no, it's his fucking job. We got the sketch here.
Right.
Like, so that's kind of thing, like, where Dave would be more like, hey, like, more laissez-faire about it. I was very, like, I was, like, more Bobby Knight-ish.
Right. Well, I guess that almost works, though, right? I mean, it's not, you need someone that...
Yeah, I mean, someone's got to make a change on time. But again, people assume because I'm like that, I couldn't think of sketches. Do you know what I mean? Like,
right, that's weird. Yeah.
But they think because Dave was in the sketches, he couldn't look at his schedule. But neither are true.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right,
I could think of sketches, and he could look at his schedule. I'm just thinking of, if there was a difference between us, that would be the big difference, is that I'm a hard ass, and he's a softie. But having said that, he's also he's the smartest guy I ever met. So...
But it was weird to me is that the show was so successful, made Comedy Central so much money, and then you said they kind of used you two against each other in certain ways.
Oh yeah, of course.
And I'm just like,
well, they had to.
Right, but why? But why ruin something?
Because you don't become Viacom by being fair to people.
Right. Okay.
They have to. That's just that's what they do. I literally don't blame them at all.
Okay.
It's like they're not. Yeah.
Only question I'm going to ask about, because I know you're probably sick of talking about it. Do you think you and Chappelle would work together again on anything? No.
And I said that in an interview one time, and he was like, I heard you said we never worked together. And I'm like, what do you want to work on? We had the best show ever.
Right.
For us.
So there's really nothing else to... Not even a movie or something like that?
No. I mean, just because, like, for what? I mean...
But what if he reached out to you and said...
I just don't trust that anything would become of it.
Okay.
Like, I think he's hilarious. I think no one, when people are like, he's a genius, I'm like, yeah, no, I know, I've been locked in rooms with him for fucking 4 years. Thanks for telling me.
Right, exactly.
I know, I'm pretty well aware of his level of ability. Where he's pulling fucking jokes out of his ass.
Right.
At pivotal moments. So yeah, but it's like, what do we...
Well, let me ask you about Donnell Rawlings.
Yeah.
I know Donnell. You let me open up for him graciously up at Mohegan Sun Casino. He's an awesome guy. I know you guys...
He's a good dude.
You got him on the Chappelle Show.
Yeah.
But I want to know... I know you knew him and you did some stuff with him, but did you know that he was as funny as he was and would be as big as contributor to the Chappelle Show as he became?
I never really thought about it. That's the thing, is like, very rarely would I, like... It was never premeditated. It was never like, you're going to do this, and it's just like, Donnell's funny to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Put him in a sketch. Charlie Murphy's funny. Put him in a sketch. Bill Burr auditioned for whatever his first audition was, and me and Dave were watching the casting tape, and Dave goes, thank fucking God. Like, I'm glad that this guy that I think is funny can act.
Right.
So it was never like, we're going to take, and then Billy's going to get a half an hour, and then he's going to get an hour, and then, like, it's just, it's kind of like most comedy, most movements or most teams or schools or classes of comedy, it's never premeditated. It's just like, let's use that guy, and that guy ends up being Bill Murray.
No, I was just wondering if you were surprised.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. I never thought about it.
Okay.
I just never. It's funny. You know what's funny to me is when I see Donnell like selling out places, or I'm like, I guess people know who Donnell is. I know that's funny.
Right.
To like, but that's the weird thing about doing a show is like, I'm surprised anyone saw it. I can't explain it any other way. Like,
No, I understand.
My experience with the show is sitting in an editing room and working on it. I never watched it. It was just, I would finish it, mix it, and never watch it again. So the idea when people are like I've told this story before too, when Rick James started airing, and someone goes, they had just gotten back from Vegas, and they go, yeah, people were saying I'm Rick James, bitch, at the craps table, and I go, why?
Right.
Like, why would they say that?
Right.
I don't understand what that means. Like, I don't know.
Right.
Like, that's weird that people in Las Vegas saw the sketch,
Yeah.
but also, why would they say that as?
So it's still like mind-boggling. To
Yeah,
the
it's
whole
not even
experience.
mind-boggling. It would be more mind-boggling. It's like when people go, "How's it feel to sell 8 million DVDs?" Like selling none. It doesn't. You're not aware. It's not like, I feel it in my. It's just like, I don't know.
Right.
I hear it sold a bunch, and I got checks. That's
Right.
great. But I don't.
Right.
But I don't. It's not like. There were very few. There were a few moments, like I remember there was, because we've never juiced the audience, like because there was like a spat at that point of like anyone who came out on a stage in the early 2000s would get a standing ovation.
Right.
Ricky Lake, fucking Maury, anyone, and we never did that shit. And Dave came out for one of the last episodes of the second season and got a standing ovation. And literally, if it's on the show, you can see him like bridle because he's so touched by it, and I was really
Yeah, I do
touched
remember
by it.
that. Now that you say that, okay.
I like teared up because it was like, oh, this is like a lot of work being validated. So, but that's about the only time you feel. And I would see Dave live at big venues and people would be yelling, but
Are you a perfectionist when writing the scripts and editing? They take you like.
That Dave.
Because I've edited stuff and I know how like.
Yeah,
I just wonder.
Dave used to say I was a perfectionist and mean it negatively, like meaning he's on some like close enough shit. He used to yell at me like, "You cut me out of the show because I just want to fucking make it shorter and better and as good, every frame as good as possible."
What's your best advice for editing comedy sketches and shorts?
If it's not a great joke, if it's not a great joke, just cut it out. If it's either like, just go great joke and then get to your next great joke as soon as possible. Don't ask for a laugh, just let it happen and go.
But how do you do that when I'm sure you guys had loads of funny stuff? How do you trim it down? I mean, because I know that maybe there's no formula to that, but I'm always
curious. Because if you have
like,
a laugh and 8, if you have a sketch and 8, there's say there's a total of 20 laughs in it. 8 of them are fucking huge laughs. 8 of them are medium.
So you're saying this is after a test screening?
4, yeah.
I meant when you're by yourself.
You show it to your friends, show it to a lot of your friends, and really watch the reaction.
Okay.
Like, that's all you can do is just like really try to get be sensitive to how people give notes, what they're confused about, and also what you're proud to show them. If you want to fast forward something, cut it. Like, if you're like, yeah, this part, cut it. This part, we're still working this part, then it's not very good.
Right, okay.
The shit you're proud of is most of the time, that'll be a good joke. 10% of the time, you'll be proud of it and it'll still stink.
Right.
But there's a good chance that if you like something, it's a good joke.
But do you ever have trouble when you're writing a script and you have jokes you like, but you have to get the length down? How you
I don't
lose
mind
your?
that. I mean,
care?
it doesn't. I'd rather. One of my favorite anecdotes is this guy Greg Daniels, who created the American Office. Was telling my buddy Mike Schur, who created Parks and Rec, with Greg. Greg said that he had done for the pilot of The Office, he had to cut it down to like 22 minutes, and then he had to do like a 12-minute version for Facebook or something.
Right.
And he goes, 22-minute version was good, the 12-minute, it's a fucking beauty. He goes, the 12-minute, he goes, anything in comedy is short. If it's shorter, it's better.
Okay.
Just almost without fail.
Okay.
If it's shorter, it will be better. No one's ever going to go, man, I wish that sketch could have been longer.
Right.
They'll go, fucking, I've literally never heard no one has ever said a sketch was too short. Ever.
Right.
I've heard people say sketches are too long my whole life.
Right.
No one's ever said a sketch too long.
Right. But you understand what I mean
Sketch
when
too
you
short.
struggle with that attachment of like trying to get.
Don't worry about it, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
it's not. What are you fucking? So here's the other thing. Write another one.
Right.
It's not like this. Like, oh, what do I do? It's not. Just focus on getting really good at comedy, and then worry about how to edit it.
Right. Okay.
You know what I mean? Like that's.
Okay.
It's kind of a non. Like it's not a problem.
Right. Okay.
You know what I mean? Like no one's ever like, I got too many great jokes. You probably don't have that many great jokes.
Right. Okay.
Probably have a couple good ones, and then the rest of them are like,
Right. Okay.
and then cut those out.
Okay.
Cut the okay ones, unless you would need them for the story. Fucking dump it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not. That's the. If it advances the story, if you have to have it for the story, you got to keep it, or if it's funny.
Okay.
Otherwise, you got to go. Looks, fucking. Hey, the look when he leaves, fucking. There's a Bill Goldman who wrote Sundance, Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, Princess Bride, a bunch of other shit. I believe it's his advice when it comes to scenes: get in late and leave early. Which goes to Dave's thing about like, you cut me out of the show if you get, yeah. I'm not gonna fucking, I don't want to watch you walk up to a scene for 15 seconds.
Right.
How about you're just standing there?
Right.
You say the funny thing, then we go.
Right.
Like that's the best advice for writing. It's like, how short can you make this?
Okay. It helps a lot. That's what I want to know.
Just shorter is better. Shorter is never not better.
Now I want to know how you write your stand-up. Everyone's different. You write it out?
I will have an idea, and then I will write it out. Me and Dove Davidoff, a comedian who lives in LA, used to live here, have a thing where we try to write 1,000-word essays. It used to be every week. Now we do it. We're both on the road a lot, so we do it. If we're both in LA, we'll do it. But where we'll take premises and just try to flesh them out, and you write them long, and then you try to boil them down to the sort of the essence of the bit.
So just kind of
I write them.
overwrite?
I write them.
Like,
Yeah,
okay.
I write them. I will write them down. Some jokes just come to you. Some jokes are just short, but very rarely have I not. It's like I'll think of a joke. It's like almost like when you write a scene in a movie. I always feel like the scene is about 70% of what it's going to be when you get on set.
Right.
And with a premise in your head, it's about 60% of what it could be on paper. In terms of stand-up. I know that's a confusing analogy, but
no. I'm not good at math, but I get it.
It's like when you. There were times where we write the script, be like, "It's a great script." Sketch-wise. Then you get on set and you're like, oh, that punchline is a setup. We need the punchline. I thought that was a punchline. It's not a punchline.
Right. Okay.
And with stand-up, I'll think of an idea and I'll be like, I should write about that. And I'll think, and then I'll write about it and way more shit will come out just sitting there like grinding on it.
Well, one of my favorite jokes of yours is the last day of slavery.
Yeah.
Now I'd like to just hear, I think it'd be interesting for people to hear, the evolution of that joke.
The evolution of that joke was, I just think white liberals are full of shit. And my feeling about people is that they will just do what they can get away with. So I had a joke about women, we used to need romance because women had it so bad that we needed to, it was like, sorry you're not allowed to vote, baby, but let's say buy you some saltwater taffy, we forget about the whole thing. So it was just in that area about, I was just thinking about, people will be as shitty as they can, and then how scared, and then I was just thinking about, how white people must have loved slavery. Even if you were against it, you must have been like, God damn, this shit is convenient. You know what I mean? Fuck, I don't know how this is legal. I'm not going to stop.
Right.
And then just how scared they must have been, where they had to just pretend, They just had to pretend, that it was the thing. Apparently Family Guy did a similar joke, which I never saw, but I've heard they did
happens, right?
they did a cutaway to Last Days Labor.
Right. No, it's a great joke. And
Yeah.
But I've seen you use like the N-word on
Yeah.
stage, and I'm just curious. Now, obviously, you've done so much stuff and
Yeah.
you have credibility. But are you still ever like, even though it's not derogatory, are you still like ever like, is this okay or worried?
Yeah, I feel one person has complained in the history of the joke. I've been saying the N-word about 6 months now. 1 month, 7 months, and one black girl. Look, I don't want to hurt people's feelings, like,
right.
but I think that people can tell what side of I've been on the right side of the law. You know what I mean? Like, people know where I'm, like, who I am and what I'm. I think if you watch Chappelle Show, you can go, yeah. You get a sense of, like, I'm not a white supremacist.
Right.
And I'm also pretty. I'm not a black supremacist either. Like, I just sort of, like, try to be candid, and if anyone can say the word nigger without malice, I gotta be. There's not a very long list, but, like, I don't even know, like, the idea of, like, when someone, I've so rarely heard it said in the way I guess it's supposed to be said. Like, I never heard it growing up in my house. I never, like, literally Public Enemy was probably the first time I heard it, like, said with any sort of regularity.
Right.
So, did Public Enemy even say it? Yeah, I think they did. Or Tribe Called Quest, one of them.
I haven't listened to those albums.
Yeah, they're good. They are good records. But so yeah, so like that was. Oh yeah. There was shit on in Nation of Millions Hold Us Back. There's a Stevie Wonder sample that they use.
Now, I know this might be a weird question, but I know you know your comedy. Obviously, you know a lot of different people. I feel like you remember the Jerky Boys.
Yeah.
Now, I still listen to the Jerky Boys, some of the stuff. Who doesn't, right? Well, no, but it's funny that I feel like they don't get the comedy credit anymore. That it like these guys had like well-developed characters before.
Here's what I'll say about the Jerky Boys. I will be by myself. I'll think Sizzle Chest, and I will fucking laugh out loud by myself. I think bring your fucking tools. They have so many hooks. Yeah, well, the thing with the Jerky Boys is they just contextually to go like, wait, someone had a tape and then you would pass it around? Like, that's so odd in the age of YouTube and shit. So it's just this anachronistic thing. I think the other problem with the Jerky Boys is they didn't know anyone in comedy.
Right.
They didn't have any friends in comedy.
Right.
So there was no one to kind of like, hey, come and meet everybody.
Right.
So you could be one of the Jerky Boys. I don't know what the Jerky Boys look like.
Right.
I mean, they made a movie that wasn't very good, but.
Well, because they did, like, to me, all that stuff obviously improvised for the most part. Like, they did, like, screenwriting on the spot and, like, brilliant screen, with the lines and the words, like, such wordsmith. So I just always don't hear a lot of people always talk about it or give them due. There's a lot of stuff people use from the Jerky Boys.
Tongue.
Right.
The Jerky Boys, you're right to bring it up.
Yeah.
It's like, I know, like...
There's a lot of stuff people have done, big comics, that obviously was inspired from the Jerky Boys, Anybody.
Chris Rock and Chappelle about the Jerky Boys. Chappelle knows them verbatim. You know what I mean? Like, he would say you're fucking tool. Like, he knew all the hooks, too. Like, so yeah, but you're right, they don't get to do it.
Right, okay.
And that's never going to change. It really
you
is.
You seem happy about that.
No, I mean, it's just one of those things like, sorry, Jerky Boy. I don't know what, it's just one of those weird cultural anomalies thing, like, you're not going to get any long-term credit. You're hilarious. No one cares. in a significant way.
Right. Do you have 2 more minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. I know you wrote for award shows, and you also...
I wrote for the ESPYs with Zap, and I got credit for the Academy Awards. I worked on it for 2 days, and they used anything I did.
I was just curious as a writer, like, what was that process like? Did you...
my favorite one of those was writing for the White House Correspondents' Dinner. I know that's not an award show, but I wrote for it with
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah, Seth Meyers, like, arguing with my best friend, and he was doing the show, and so I wrote for him on that, and it was great. I got to meet Obama, and the better part was I got to do jokes about Obama in front of him that
That's
I
awesome.
knew he was going to hear.
That's
that
amazing.
was the thing, that more than anything, it's like the joke about, you know who could beat you in an election? You 2 years ago? That's all I wanted.
Right.
That was all I wanted out of it. It's like, just say that and I'm good.
Right. That's awesome.
And so that's like the that was great. It's like truth to power. That's the name of the game to me. It's like fucking, and talked to him about Chappelle Show, and he was really nice about it and stuff. So Obama.
So that was one of your highlights.
Yeah, that was fucking
doing
great.
that.
I got a picture of it. It's like fucking crazy.
Last question. It was about the goods. I forgot to ask you. What was it like to direct something you didn't write? And I know you probably maybe punched stuff up, but I was just curious about that.
The hard part was not being able. Basically, what happened was there was a writer's strike, so we couldn't really rewrite that much. It was this weird gray area. The thing that I didn't like about it was I wanted to do more rewrites before we started, and Adam McKay was kind of like, didn't feel like we needed them, and then so when we got on set, I had to just give people shit on the fly.
Right. Okay.
And some of it, Adam was like, "You were so right."
Right.
You know, it just made it slightly harder because it was like we could have done this, and I wouldn't have had to been directing a movie the whole time.
Right.
We could have done this beforehand, but that's about the only negative I would say. Like, and I'm sure those guys would agree with me. But yeah, that's the thing about it's like the writers. It's that weird like thing. If you write a movie, directors get all the credit in movies, and writers get all the credit in TV. Writers should get all the credit in TV, but writers should get way more credit in movies. Fucking way more.
Because without the script, you don't have the movie.
Fucking way more.
Yeah.
So
I participated in that writer's strike, by the way, as like hopefully future.
Yeah.
Well, you know, yeah. Well, I was interning on a show called The Shield.
Yeah.
And Sean Ryan, he's like, so someone kind of told me, they said, no, you should go out there and do it. You want to be a screen, you know, you write one day you'll be in this, you know, you should go do it. And it was an incredible experience. I used it as networking.
Yes, sure.
I was like, I don't give a fuck about this, writers.
Yeah, I don't know what you guys are going to. Anyhow,
give me the sample
I got
here.
a spec. Look at my second act. I need something. I don't think I picketed at all because I was directing the whole time.
Right.
I'm in the Writers Guild and the Directors Guild.
Right.
So, which is kind of scummy. I could never know what to make of it. I could never know, like, is this scummy of me? Because I am in the Writers Guild. If I pitch a joke that I thought of before the strike, as the it's just like this fucking weird ass gray area. But whatever, all's well that ends well.
Well, so now what's next for you? You doing stand up tour?
I like doing stand up. I like doing the road, and I just did a pilot for that I just did with a buddy of mine on Spec. You can do a Spec pilot pretty cheaply now because I'm the expensive part, meaning like I wrote it, directed it, and I'm the host.
Okay.
And it's basically like a Tosh for the news, more or less. Like I guess, like there's no Best Week Ever anymore.
Right.
And there's no half hour just someone talking about current events. Because I care, there's so few people that are under 40 that care about politics.
Right.
And that are funny.
Right.
There's none.
Right.
Me and Seth.
Right.
You couldn't tell me one comic that gives a shit about, that follows politics.
Right.
And I know about sports, I know about entertainment, I know, like, there's a lot of shit I care about, like, legitimately care about.
Right.
And I'm engaged in it anyway, and I write a bunch of Twitter jokes about it, so it's like, let me just do sort of like an omnibus news show. So.
Okay. Well, Neal, thank you so much for doing this, man. Awesome.
Yeah,
really appreciate it. Good to meet you.
So that's this week's episode. Special thanks to Neal Brennan, Benjy Susswein, and Godfrey. Had a great time with everybody. Please rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast on iTunes. Please follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/Joseph Vecsey. You can also add me on Facebook at facebook.com/Joseph Vecsey. Thanks for listening.